We're all equally tired of comparing games to Dark Souls, but the Souls-like genre seems destined to impact the gaming world for many years to come. And that's certainly not a bad thing, as these types of games offer unrelenting challenge in exchange for a meaningful sense of accomplishment. And in the case of Team Ninja's 2017 hit game Nioh, that accomplishment never felt more earned thanks to its lengthy, beautiful, and dangerous quest that tested the mettle of even the most hardcore Souls-like fans. Things didn't always look that promising though. Nioh's troubled history started as far back as 2004 when it was slated to be a PS3 release, and it suffered a turbulent development path that didn't see it emerging in its modern form until 2015. But while many gamers felt concerned that such unstable development could lead to a sloppy product, those fears were quickly washed away upon getting their hands on the game, an immaculately designed and brutally challenging experience that went on to ship over 2.5 million copies worldwide. Set in 1600s Japan and casting players as a fictionalized version of real-world navigator William Adams, Nioh showcased a dedication to the Sengoku period and offered a genuine sense of place to the world its characters inhabited. Meeting other famous historical figures alongside an expansive cast of fictionalized NPCs meant there was also a lot of exposition to uncover, plot threads to follow, and people to please. All of this was brought together by exceptional writing and intriguing missions that gave real purpose to William's quest and the satisfying and ever-growing narrative. Nioh wore its Souls-like title proudly and embraced the majority of the genre's mechanics. Dying would result in losing all of your experience, requiring you to make your way back to the spot of your defeat to recover it. You rested at shrines, the equivalent of bonfires throughout the game's perilous levels, and they allowed you to recover health, level up a variety of stats, and restock items. You managed a stamina bar, known in Nioh as Ki, which forced you to consider every attack and dodge, lest you found your bar depleted and your options limited. All of these things felt natural for Nioh, but what sets the game apart was how it took those existing features and developed them into something even deeper. Perhaps the simplest but most impactful example of this is how Nioh implemented its stamina system. All the normal things applied at first glance, such as how equipment weight affected the speed in which Ki would regenerate. But while you might be able to scrape by just fighting enemies and waiting for your Ki to regenerate between attacks and dodges, mastering the game's Ki Pulse feature allowed for significantly more aggressive play. This gave you the option of timing a press of R1 at specific times during combat to instantly restore a portion of your Ki and keep you mobile. Considering that enemies in Nioh took a beating before they died, and William could often die in just a hit or two, mobility was of paramount importance. But the expansion of genre expectations didn't stop there. Though the game lacked a traditional character creation system seen in games like Dark Souls, Nioh made up for it with its Diablo-esque, period-specific loot that gave further authenticity to its world while granting players incredibly deep customization opportunities. At times, its array of stats and added effects bordered on overwhelming, but the sense of reward found from investing in the min-maxing of gear was unparalleled. Putting together a set that truly met the needs of your build brought with it new feelings of confidence and power that simply doesn't exist in games with less detailed loot systems. Meanwhile, Nioh's abundance of equally wide-ranging weapons offered players numerous options for pummeling foes. One- and two-handed katanas, spears, axes, bows, and rifles were all fun to experiment with, but perhaps its most unique weapon type was the kusarigama, a traditional Japanese weapon consisting of a chain with a blade at the end that allowed players to rapidly flog enemies with a flurry of visually spectacular attacks. Mixing and matching these various weapon types to best suit the scenario combined beautifully with a wide range of magical beasts called guardian spirits that could be equipped to further enhance and customize William's arsenal while providing him with unique passive bonuses. Building up a meter in combat allowed players to unleash these spirits on enemies in the form of living weapons to dole out massive damage. Nioh's combat stances added another impressive layer of complexity to its fights and gave noticeable benefits depending on the situation, meaning players were asked to frequently swap between them to ensure optimal use of their attacks. The slow attacks of high stance would produce higher damage overall while using more Ki, whereas the low stance granted less damage but was faster and came in handy against enemies that were lower to the ground. Lastly, using the mid stance allowed for sweeping attacks with average damage that typically worked best against groups of enemies, something that was invaluable in a game where becoming overwhelmed by attackers was frequent. Developing its own identity even further, Nioh abandoned the simplistic nature of New Game Plus and other genre titles in favor of a tiered difficulty offering. Beating the game gave players the options to jump between the game's original difficulty and a new, harder difficulty on the fly, and completing a new difficulty setting would grant access to yet another. With each difficulty encompassing a set level range, this resulted in a post-game not unlike Diablo, where players would often farm for hours to level up and earn enough good loot to be able to successfully tackle a new difficulty setting. While some felt this led to a repetitive grind, it nevertheless extended the gameplay experience for hundreds of hours for those seeking to get the most from Nioh. Even without the added difficulties, exploring Nioh's intricately detailed Japanese world could easily take 50+ hours the first time through if players took the time to delve into its bevy of side content. Its large roster of formidable bosses and enemy-filled gauntlets made sure that even the most ardent fans of Souls-like games would be thoroughly challenged from beginning to end. And though it borrowed most of its fundamentals from an existing blueprint, few games have taken an established formula and made it its own with such a fervent passion as Nioh, ensuring that it will stand as one of the most creative entries in the Souls-like genre for decades to come. Even better, Nioh's upcoming sequel is poised to take players back to the oppressively challenging Japanese world created in the first game. Ninja Theory is promising a meaningful evolution of the series with its second entry, presenting a brand new character creation system, new weapon types like dual hatchets, new enemy types, and an intriguing feature that allows players to temporarily morph into a demon mid-combat and deal substantially more damage. It looks as though Nioh 2 will greatly expand on the already excellent template made by the first game, and there's no doubt that it will be an extraordinary entry in the genre when it releases sometime in 2020. And that about does it for this video. If you enjoyed what you watched and want to see more from GamingBolt, you can always hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell icon next to it. That way you will never miss any of our videos.